Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.
Well, this week just passed in Western Australia. We celebrated Harmony Week, which aims to put a spotlight on all the wonderful ethnicities that are here in Western Australia. So take a look.
Once regarded as a small backwater, Perth is now home to a multitude of different ethnic backgrounds. And that's what today is all about, the celebration of our people. What does this type of event do for migrants such as yourself?
Oh, today's Harmony Day, getting together with all different kinds of people. We're 183 different nationality living in Perth. Coming here is showing that we care for each other, and Australia makes welcome everybody for goodwill, regardless of the skin colour or the creed.
Lisa, how important is it, do you think, to have these kind of multicultural festivals for Perth?
I think it's extremely important because they really bring so much vitality to our central city area, and it's an opportunity for people to look back and reminisce where they may have come from, but for the younger generations, an opportunity to have a better appreciation of what they might not really understand.
And how do you see it evolving in terms of our multicultural blend?
Look, I believe that we're evolving in so many ways. We're seeing migration now coming from many new countries, but we can also celebrate the older countries where people had migrated from in the 50s or even earlier. And when you think that Perth is not even 200 years old as a city, we've certainly come a long way in that time, but it's only been through the support of many people who had come from areas where they'd done it all before. So they've brought their knowledge here to our city, and they've helped our city bloom and flourish.
There's been a long association between the people of Vasto and the people of Perth. There's a Via Perth in Vasto, and a lot of people from the Abruzzo region in Italy live in Western Australia. The city of Perth built the irrigation lakes which are behind us, and following that the Abruzzese community decided to build a fantastic statue which complements the lakes. And it always was their aim to include many people from other nationalities, because this statue is dedicated to immigrants who came to Western Australia after the Second World War. So it's very pleasing to see that they've got many different ethnic groups involved now. I know that the Filipino community is involved, the Serbian community is involved, I see members of the Jewish community here. So it's a great step to develop this area where people can come down to the foreshore and enjoy the ambience and to have some good facilities.
We know that our roots go back, and we've got fantastic Chinese, Greek, Italian, many different ethnic cultures that made up our city and really have added to what it has become today. So we've got to be proud of it. We've got to allow it to be played out at many festivals such as this one, because it enables the younger generations to truly understand their roots and how far we've come.
Enjoying themselves, it really reflects the rich multicultural hub that Perth has evolved into. The stamp of every city is made up from its people, and we certainly have a fascinating one.
Well, don't you just hate it when you're driving into the city and you just can't work out where to park? Well, fear not, a brand new application by the City of Perth means that parking will no longer be a worry. Jasmine Amis reports.
New smartphone applications are constantly being released on the market, and our addiction to mobile phones is growing. But at what point do mobile phones become dangerous? When I went to main roads, I found out just how risky this dependency can be.
The Office of Road Safety is a part of Main Roads, but we have a function to work across all of the government agencies and with all the government agencies to help improve road safety in Western Australia. And our clear mandate is to identify and recommend the best strategies that will help save lives and reduce injuries on our roads. Some of the education programs we do include distraction. The reason we include distraction is that it is one of, up there with speeding and drink driving, it is one of the biggest factors involved in serious crashes on WA roads. It's those 1, 2 or 3 seconds that your attention is diverted away, that the vehicle is still travelling. On a country road that's 110 kilometres an hour, on a local road that's 50 or 60 kilometres an hour. That's many metres in that period of time that you actually travel. Distraction is a very serious thing because it's robbing you of your chance to anticipate and to react.
It's hard enough to avoid our phones when we are driving. So what about mobile phone applications that could actually encourage its use? The City of Perth Parking recently released an app to assist its users in finding car park locations and available bays.
I went to the City of Perth parking offices to ask why they would create a software that could potentially encourage people to use their phones while driving.
So basically, the City of Perth parking app allows any person who's coming into the City of Perth to find an available bay. At 10 of our car parks currently have that available. So basically, if you're leaving home and you're coming into the city, you can then have a look on our app and find out where the available bays are. We've had over 7,000 iPhone downloads and almost 1,000 Android downloads, and most of the feedback has been really positive. People are loving it. It's just allowing them to more easily find a car park. There's no more driving around the city, searching for a bay, having to do laps around and around. So positive feedback, yeah, there's been nothing negative. There's a really cool meter countdown. So for people parking, whether they're parking in our off-street car parks or on street bays, they can actually choose to do a countdown from when they've paid to when their money will run out, and it will give them an alarm, which is really good, so that way no one's going to get a fine because they know when their money runs out. So that's a really good bonus. You can also search for your car, so that way you can do a find your car. So if you've parked at any of our car parks, it actually allows for the GPS for you to locate it again if you forget where you parked.
Technology in cars is a good thing. It also comes with some risks. There's a downside and a danger to the technology. 1 in 5, 20% of all of our distraction crashes are due to a driver interacting with some form of technology in the vehicle. The danger is, and the reason that they are illegal, is that the driver must resist the temptation to interact with those while they are driving and while the vehicle is moving. Or if there's a passenger in the car, you use the passenger to assist you with it. But the interaction of a driver with those devices, particularly if they're associated with a mobile phone, is illegal while the vehicle is moving and needs to be safely parked. You can't just be stopped at traffic lights or anything like that.
That was definitely a very important aspect of the mobile app because of the fact that it's a combination of driving and using a mobile phone. So at all times, we recommend that people pull over, use the app that way, or use it when they're at home.
My key message to the drivers would be these apps and technology are wonderful things and they can make our lives easier, but they can also end our lives.
This has been Jasmine Amos reporting for Undercurrent.
Well, next up, Ivan Leung sits down for a one-on-one chat with Mr. Eric Ripper.
Mr. Ripper, welcome to Evening News.
Thank you very much.
Now, did you enjoy being the leader of the opposition?
Well, it's a challenging job, and I enjoyed the challenge. Like any job, it had its negative aspects, but yes, I did enjoy being leader of the opposition, and I thought it was a worthwhile job to do.
And if you did, why did you resign?
Well, you have to act in the interests of the party, and sufficient of my colleagues had reached a judgment that my leadership wasn't going to succeed, and of course there was polling information which showed that no matter how hard I was working, it didn't seem to be cutting the mustard with the people of Western Australia. So I made a judgment about what was in the interests of the party.
There are some reports saying WA Labor has a low popularity. Even John Hyde got recognised as the CEO of the David Jones. Is there something that Labor has lack of selling in the hearts of Western Australians?
Well, I think it's a difficult period for WA Labor. Federal Labor Party has made some decisions which have been received very poorly by Western Australians. Also, of course, Colin Barnett has become expert at claiming credit for the positive things that WA Labor has achieved, that the Federal Labor has achieved. Equally, you've got the WA economy performing very well at a time when economies in other parts of the country and in other parts of the world are performing much less well. And when an economy is performing well, particularly comparatively, that tends to reflect well on the government, even if the government has nothing much to do with it.
Now let's talk a little bit about your previous work. You blame Colin Barnett for putting up water, gas, electricity prices and funding to his offices. And now Julie Gillard obviously has pushed through the carbon tax on the other hand. Isn't it a little bit hypocritical for you in Labor to criticise Colin for raising all those utility prices?
Well, I see the point you're making, but the fact is, with the carbon price, there will be compensation. So very shortly, people are going to receive, if they're pensioners, increases in their pension, and if they're taxpayers, reductions in their tax. There's no compensation, not a single cent, for what Colin Barnett has done. And of course, in the end, you have to charge the right price for electricity and water, but his increases have been so sudden and so savage that they've meant that many people are going backwards while the state goes forwards through a resources burden.
Now, do you support gay marriage?
Look, I support marriage equality. I think it's just part of the fair go. What public policy should do is support those people that are prepared to make long-term commitments to each other, that are prepared to love and support each other. And it doesn't matter what their sexual preference is. If people form those mutually supportive and loving relationships, let them have access to marriage.
But it potentially causes the division on the community and twists the foundation of the Australian society and the definition of marriage. Do you still stand by your view?
Yes, I do. I understand that this is a sensitive issue, but my own view is it doesn't compromise the meaning of marriage for other people. It's simply a matter of marriage equality. It's simply a matter of the fair go. Now, I appreciate there are people who have different views, but that's my view.
And finally, will you be contesting the next election?
No, I won't. I've enjoyed being a Member of Parliament, but I have been a Member of Parliament for almost 25 years, and I will have completed almost 26 years by the time of the next election. So I think it's time to say enough is enough.
And are there any regrets, finally?
Oh, well, look, in any job, in any role, you do have regrets. I look back and I think I could have done that better, I could have done this better. But I certainly don't regret going into politics, and I certainly don't regret taking on the challenge of being the leader of my party. It's a great honour and a privilege to have been in politics and to have reached the position of leadership of my party. Now, it didn't work entirely as I wanted, but nevertheless, it was a worthwhile thing to have done.
Eric, thank you very much.
Ivan, thanks a lot.
Well, there it is, the end of another episode of Undercurrent. As always, jam-packed full of interesting stories from here in Western Australia. But if you have an interesting story you would like us to cover, then you need to let us know. So you can follow us on Facebook or on Twitter, or visit our website, wtvperth.com.au. I'm Christy Molliker, and I hope to see you again next week for more of Western Australia's very own Undercurrent.